Innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Great Tech Group. This episode was recorded live from Autodesk University in Nashville, Tennessee, where the brightest minds in construction, design, and technology came together to shape the future. Over the course of AU, we talked with industry leaders, innovators, and the change makers about the trends, tools, and ideas driving digital transformation in our great industry. So settle in as we explore how to model the future of construction innovation. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Great Tech Group. We are recording live from Autodesk University here in Nashville, Tennessee, and excited to be joined by two people from the University of Florida, Grassano and Frank Phillips. Thanks for taking the time and joining the show today.
Happy to be here.
Hi.
I would love to start with how you kind of got into the industry, kind of your journey here, and what brings you into AU this year.
Into the industry. It's a total accident from my perspective. I was going through college at UF on a totally unrelated track. Got into computers, was working in the physical plant at the time, implemented the first CMMS system that I finished coding, and my career has just been a meandering trajectory since.
There you go.
And as far as AU this year, very happy to be here. It really helps us hone our direction where we're going over the next year.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Ashley?
My background is in design and construction, and I started working for Frank 12 years ago now. And I started out making Revit models from really bad CAD, and just moved up from there. And now I have part of Frank's department, the Space and GIS management, and Autodesk helps us figure out what it is we're doing and making sure we're on the right track. So we like to be here, making sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of your favorite projects that you get to work on at University of Florida?
Current passion surrounds digital twins. We have a lot of old buildings, and my passion is trying to make our old buildings smarter. I avoid smart, but smarter. And so we have a lot of projects right now to uplift our Revit models and bring them to a minimum state and start building some rudimentary MEPs to locate assets, nothing beyond that, so that we can start connecting them to their stream data.
Nice. You mentioned some of the tools, Autodesk, that you guys are using, but describe some of that. What's that workflow like? What tools are you leveraging there?
So we use Autodesk Revit we do modeling. We update our master models with Revit. We're also using Tandem for our digital twin initiative. We use the whole suite for pretty much the whole design suite for pretty much everything.
We're also heavily invested in ACC from a construction project management perspective, but we're also leveraging ACC for our historical building documentation as well as our building models.
So the big announcement yesterday with ACC coming into form and everything too, how are you guys kind of wrapping your head around that and what the future holds there with all the cloud coming in?
Haven't really focused on that yet, primarily because from a docs perspective, we're already in the cloud, and Forma today is something that we're looking at. But given its design nature, and we're dealing with the built infrastructure for the most part, we're not very engaged with Forma at this point.
Any big takeaways from AU that is coming out that's like, oh, that's interesting, I need to dig more into that?
I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm excited about the Autodesk Esri partnership. Seems like they have it's called Indoors GIS, that I'm pretty excited about. And more digital twin, making sure that we get ACC documents, how we need them, and how that workflow should work.
Beyond that, I'm really excited to see where we're going with AI over the next couple of years. A lot of stuff was announced on that. Where can we plug it into our workflows, gain some efficiencies? And we also do a lot of integration work into ACC and Tandem and other things. And I attended a session today on their new authentication methods that get us out of having to deal with three-legged authentication for API work with a user at the keyboard. So I'm really excited to go home and start plugging those into our workflows.
Yeah, nice. We'll dig into the technology here in a minute, but let's broaden out to some of the workflow challenges. At University of Florida, what are some of the challenges that you guys are facing?
It depends on the topic there, I guess. There's quite a few. One is we're working on greater adoption of our ACC product line and making sure that we're utilizing it to its fullest. And we're getting some assistance from Great Tech on that front, and we're really happy to be involved with you guys there. So a lot of this is coming back to trying to bring more workflows on board. And a lot of the workflows that we have are external to the ACC environment today and other areas. So we're trying to fully invest in using the platform and making sure that our workflows are efficient and driving towards the right end. Ashley, from your side?
Well, it's really nice just collaborating with people that kind of do our job from the owner's side. It seems like we all have the same problems, more or less, and we're all trying to problem solve and how to figure out how to solve those problems. And I think that's what my biggest takeaway is.
Yeah. How do you go about that collaboration aspect of it to open those lines of communication? Because that's a big hurdle for a lot of firms.
Well, we were talking to Google earlier, and they talked about making sure that their specs were updated and having certain keywords in their specs, which we have adopted a little bit, but maybe just sort of, we all take pride in being the owner and this being our data. It helps to just talk with people like that. And also it's really helpful to talk to other people in higher education as well, because we have a unique ownership of these buildings. I think it's probably less than people who own like data centers, right? Because we know these buildings are going to be here for 100 years. Data centers, it could be an Amazon data center today and a Google data center tomorrow. So I feel like we have a unique feeling about these buildings.
Yeah. You brought up an interesting line. You said that you take unique pride in the data, which is something that has come up a lot in the conversations the last couple of days, is who owns the data and kind of the releasing of that data, especially with the announcements of all the cloud stuff, of that the data is becoming more shareable. What's your perspective on data flow and the ownership there?
Had an interesting conversation with someone that asked me that. I think it was last night, and my answer was, I do. In my position, being an IT director is my real title, but we're support the data for our facility services, construction, business services, parking, etc. And I am the official university custodian of all of those data systems. So it flows through there. I'm the ultimate responsible party. For the University of Florida, and you're creating content for the University of Florida, the university owns the data, and we can choose where we put it and how we interact with it. So my opinion is, as the person paying the bills, we own the data.
Yeah, that's fair. This is definitely fair. So you mentioned about partnering with Great Tech. How did that partnership come about? Are you leveraging Great Tech?
We've been involved, as I said, in deploying ACC for some time. We've been using it probably for 6 or 7 years now. And Great Tech is our Autodesk reseller. So that starts with our sales rep, Linda Netzer, who's a Gator grad as well. So we like working with her. And when we got into doing cost, it's a much more complicated deployment than anything that we've tackled in ACC to date, which we did pretty much with just internal learning and deployment and some API work on our part, those kind of concepts internally. However, we knew when we got into cost, and we did have some conversation with Autodesk first, and they're like, we really think that you need to talk to Great Tech and bring someone in. And so we did. We listened to that advice, and we've been working with Emily, who we're very happy to be engaged with.
Nice. How do you go about measuring the success of what the outcome is going to be, to know this is on the right track, this is maybe going sideways, we need to pivot and adjust?
Well, first, we had to walk into this with however we're working today, we know isn't going to fit. So we can't just lift and shift and be successful. So it did take deconstructing a lot of our processes and figuring out how do we rebuild them in ACC. But ultimately, success is we're now onboarding some projects and we're getting the PMs trained. And the ultimate success will be, do we get the contractor paid?
What's that onboarding and kind of the implementation process like?
Right now, the onboarding, we're doing a project at a time, which brings us 1 PM so that we can get them really trained up to where they need to be. And of course, as they get trained up, obviously we can apply it to more of their projects. And we'll continue to do that for several months, but there will be a point in time yet to be determined, I'm hoping January, that all new projects will be stood up in ACC or cost active.
Okay, very nice. Well, what's the next step on the innovation digital transformation journey for both of you?
Boy, I'll let you go for that one.
So right now we are working on coming up with a minimum spec to bring all of our Revit models up to. I started my career at UF by taking really bad CAD and turning it into not so great Revit models just to get the job done. And over time we've been making them better, but we need a little bit more focus because we're doing other things. And we partnered with the College of Design, Construction, and Planning, and they are going to have a class that's going to take 6 of these buildings that our facility services team has identified as being important when we talk about assets and like fixed assets, and to make the integration into Tandem and SkySpark better. So we're going to be handing off 6 buildings, and hopefully I'll forget about them for a semester. And then when they come back, we'll be able to do these really great integrations.
I think from my perspective, it comes back to what we talked about before, data, and making sure that from beginning to end, we have a very clear picture of what needs to move through the system, starting at design. We want to start onboarding assets and other things in design into our CMMS system even, so we can manage them forward. And that will cover our new construction so that we're getting a good turnover. At that time, be bringing those things into Tandem so we can be evaluating it through the construction process. Beyond that, twins, digital twins, that's my passion right now. So continuing to work on our built environment, as Ashley was outlining, is definitely high on the list.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the passion is digital twins. Why? What do you see as the promise and the potential of digital twins?
I think there's a lot of promise and potential there that we've yet to realize. I think that where we're going with Autodesk and bringing AI and a lot of other tools online, it's going to just explode, and we need to be ready for it and be a leader in the space, not a follower. At the same time, it's been the progression from 30 years ago with where I started. How do we deploy things to our university community in a functional way that tells them what they need to manage their college and department?
Nice. What about you? What do you think the promise and potential of digital twins would be?
I'm really interested in implementing a smart campus and having a lot of integration with the students and technology and our built environment. And I want a 3D campus map, and I want to be able to look at a building and say, you know, what are the utilities that go to this building? And if I turn this valve off, what happens? If there's a air handler unit 1 goes out, which rooms are unhappy? So I want this to be like an all-inclusive, smart digital campus where everybody's involved and everybody has their fingers in the pot, so to say.
Yeah. So if I put the crystal ball on the table, how far out do you think that full vision is?
Hopefully not far. Part of what we've done over the last year is, after AU last year, we went back, reworked a lot of our internal infrastructure to support this direction, got some of the right partnerships going with our facilities team and some other places. So we're on the cusp that we can easily deploy, easily stream data, and start standing up buildings at scale. So from there, obviously, it's working on adoption, getting it into the hands of the people that need the data. And when that happens, hopefully there's nothing holding us back.
Yeah. Nice. What's your timeline, Ashley?
We're
going to hold you to it. We'll come back and we'll look at it, make sure if your prediction was good. Yeah.
So
Bring sidestep date. Are you going to?
Tomorrow. We're a 100-year-old campus. We have 100-year-old buildings. We have 80-year-old infrastructure. There's a lot of really fun things happening at UF right now. We're doing utilities projects, we're doing construction projects, and I think that if we can get some buy-in from some other user groups on campus, and if they are as passionate about it as Frank and I think that we'll really start to see they'll see the ROI on it and be more invested and more active in giving us the information and helping us get to where we need to go. So timeline, I'm hoping that by next AU, we'll have some significant changes.
Yeah. So how do you go about getting that buy-in of, other stakeholders, other groups? That's a very tricky, important piece to your point, Ashley. But how do you go about that? And what's the
partnerships? It all comes down to finding the right people to work with who are going to take the ball and run with it with you. And this is something that we can't push on our own. It's a big campus, a lot of stakeholders, but we know some of the right people. They're already engaged with us, and finding the common ground that helps us both meet our objectives and then let them sell it to their constituents.
Yeah.
I think that getting buy-in also from upper administration, but more from the boots on the ground people, the people who are in there looking for those valves, the people who are, getting calls at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's a water leak, those are the people I think that, you know, they come to us and they're like, I found what I needed at 2 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. And I'm like, go tell your boss. Go, like, let's make the world a better place. Let's make the university a better place. And just having all of that information at the fingertips of the people who are actually using it, I feel like that will filter up and, you know, get more buy-in eventually.
For sure. I mean, I think it takes a both and approach. You have to have the grassroots getting excited about it, saying, demanding it. And then you have to have the leadership obviously bought in to be willing to come back and back it up and invest it too.
Frank can work from the top down. I'll work from the bottom up, and hopefully we'll meet in the middle.
It's a good tag team.
Yeah,
for sure. So a little bird me, I'm going to shift on the technology front. A little birdie told me that I need to ask about LiDAR scanning and site scanning. But that's a passion project.
That's another project. So roughly the tail end of COVID, we contracted to do a mobile LiDAR scan. And after we received that deliverable, we were starting one of the biggest digs we've ever done on campus, replacing significant utility infrastructure. You know, we're talking 25-foot deep trenches, putting in 16-inch steam and chill water lines, the whole shebang.
Massive.
And part of what we wanted to do was be sure that we were capturing that. So we purchased a couple of Leica RTC 360 nice high-level units, and before they backfilled, when the inspections happened, our team went out there and scanned that. Now, a result of doing the overall mobile scan, though, was we also captured over 19 miles of roadway on our campus, and that let us use that to properly geospatially locate our Revit models. So we can bring the point cloud into Revit, move Revit to that, and now we have, I'll use the term, a relative control for our campus where everything, at least within our campus, is geographically correct.
That's awesome. That's really cool. You're really bringing the holistic view of all the buildings on the campus and putting it into the context and perspective, right?
Absolutely.
We also have a mobile LiDAR unit that we're taking to mechanical rooms that maybe we just didn't know that much about. That's not really part of things that I go investigate when I'm walking buildings. So we've been taking scans of those and then like going back and modeling, like this is where the air handler unit is and it's on, you know, an elevated slab and here's the pipes and whatnot. So we're using it on the interior of Revit models as well.
Yeah, very cool. So bringing it back into where we are in the Great Tech booth here, when you're looking at partnerships, what role should the partner really play in helping you move everything forward?
Oh, that's a hard one to answer because I'm stubbornly independent, as Linda might tell you at times. So, I mean, you know, it's one of those engage at the level of the person you're dealing with, and I'm the difficult person at those levels sometimes.
Not the difficult, you're the fun, you know, providing opportunities.
I'm the guy that always says, can I do it myself first? And so, you know, there's some of that. But, you know, like I said, we've been very happy with our engagement for implementing costs. Been great working with Linda over the years. Great Tech's been a great partner, and we'll see where that takes us. So
kind of as we start to wrap up, any kind of final takeaways from AU over the almost 2 full days here? But
I'll give you one, and it's a little bit old guy reflective, so we'll run with that. The pace that Autodesk is moving with all of these new technologies is staggering compared to what I've seen over the past 30 plus years in my career. So it's really, really exciting for us to be engaged with the academics at UF and with our design construction planning and the students there who are going to be working on some of our Revit models and bringing some of these new resources to bear to that. 5 years from now, they're the ones that are going to be out in the construction space using these things that didn't exist when I was their age. And how they're going to respond to that is going to be really interesting to watch, and what that does to the industry will be, I'm sure, transformative.
Ashley,
I like coming to these and feeling that we're on the right track. There hasn't been too many things where I'm like, oh, this is blowing my mind and we're so behind and we need money and people and resources and we have to totally redo everything.
Well, we do, but we
did that last year, but it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I like coming here and just feeling like we're in a good place and we're on the right track and we're doing the right things for the right reasons. And
yeah, a little encouragement booster there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Frank, to your point, is I was in the Autodesk AI booth earlier today and visiting I forget what the exact name that they called it, but like the future of AI section of it. where you're conversing with the model, and they've done away with menus, and
Right.
you're just talking as you're designing, and it's a long way off, I think, but crazy radical transformation of the way designers are going to do their work, and that change management over the next couple of years is going to be massively huge, and just a total rewiring of how everybody thinks about design. It will be an interesting journey to see how that goes. So a couple of rapid fire questions as we end here. So Great Tech, the tagline is modeling the future. What does that mean and look like to you guys?
It means it's Ashley's job.
Yeah, I want to have fully functional digital twins for every single building. I want to know where the furniture is. I want to know where the paint on the wall is. I want to know where the outlets are. I want to know how often somebody's sitting in a seat.
You want it all.
I want it all. I do.
I like it.
In a 3D map.
There you go.
I'm the tech guy. She takes care of the modeling side.
What does innovation mean to you?
Innovations mean keep pace, be with it. That's why we come here. Like Ashley said, we come here to go at a good place. So once again, reflectively, I've been trying to innovate my entire career, and I feel like I'm at a place I'm going, wow, this is hard to keep up with, and it's just an amazing thing today.
How do people find out more information on UF, what you guys have got going on, or connect with you?
I got the simplest email in the world, fwp@ufl.edu. I'm always open to talk to people.
That is pretty simple. That's pretty good.
Our website's bats.businessaffairs.us.
Less simple than the email, but we will link over. Final question for you both. If I could give you all construction power and you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing, what would you pick to innovate?
We would never have a bad deliverable again.
I second that.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time and joining the show today.
Absolutely.
And now it's time for my Todd takes from this episode. First take, make old buildings smarter. A campus-wide push toward digital twins is turning legacy facilities into data-ready assets. The playbook? Uplift Revit to a consistent medium spec, link key MEP assets for location and maintenance, stream live data into Tandem, and anchor everything with GIS. It's practical, phased modernization. It's form meets function. Second take. Data is an asset. Treat it like one. Ownership and flow matter. From ACC adoption to cost rollout, success comes from redefining processes, not lift and shift. Onboarding project by project and measuring wins by outcomes like contractors getting paid. The ethos, the owner funds the work, the owner owns the data, and partners help operationalize it. And finally, scan, map, connect, and then automate. LiDAR for utilities and interiors, geospatially aligned campus models, ACC plus Tandem integration, and emerging AI and API upgrades, including easier authorization, are building a true smart campus. Pair top-down sponsorship with bottom-up field buy-in, and you get faster finds at 2 a.m., fewer unknowns, and clearer ROI. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you are interested in learning more, you can visit our sponsor, Great Tech Group, at ASTI.com for more information. You can listen to this podcast anytime by simply going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out our website, bridgingthegappod.com. As always, I'm Todd Wyant, thanking you for joining the conversation to model the future on the Bridging the Gap podcast. Keep innovating.